Hey, honey, can you hand me the hot glue gun?
What do you need it for, babe?
I need to spread out some more unobtainium 323 crystals.
How come?
There's still too much high-frequency cabinet noise at 88.8 kilohertz.
There you go.
We don't want to lose another pair of speakers to spontaneous combustion.
Did you check the flux capacitors? Welcome back to your local broadcast. I'm Jason Manning, your host, and this is Eagle, Idaho, Day 2, February 13th of snowpocalypse for the Pacific Northwest. What news do I have for you guys? I've got some great news. It's actually a really nice day to stay indoors and listen to your favorite music. Welcome back to 2-Channel Listening, everybody. What do I have for you today? How about some Sierra 1s from Ascend Acoustics Inc. out of Gardena, California? Now, wait a minute. I know, I understand, besides Amanda and myself, there are some good things that do still come out of California. So be patient. Ascend Acoustics. They are, I would say, if I had to sum them up really quickly, an engineering and frequency response company first. So they've actually been around for 20 years, a little over 20 years, and they really cut their teeth in and garnered a well-deserved reputation for some truly exceptional budget speakers. Mainly, they started with some home theater speakers, the CBM 170s, there are 340 SEs, truly $300, $500, $600 pairs of speakers that excellent frequency response, high return on investment for what you're getting, and it's a brand that has an exceptional reputation. Let's just leave it at that. And I will put a link to their website in the description. I highly encourage all of you to go there to check them out. This is a company that prides itself on its actual, or I should say, puts its reputation out there on design first and foremost. If you like charts, if you like frequency response, if you like to see waterfall charts, this is your company. There are pages upon pages of things to geek out on when it comes to the design philosophies of Ascend Acoustics. This is not a flashy company. This is a company that does not have hardly any marketing dollars, or they don't put a lot of marketing dollars behind them. It's kind of amazing that even in the audiophile world, how few still are aware of this direct-to-consumer model company. And I would say that as an aside for me, in my journey, I have been aware of Ascend Acoustics for quite some time. And in a real quick roundabout, what happened is that years ago, when I was first getting started, made some purchases here and there, I actually was looking at the Sierra 1 towers, and I truly did want to pull the trigger on the Sierra 1 towers with the raw tweeter in it. And what ended up happening is I kind of got burned on this one Canadian company. I bought their speakers, had them for 2 weeks, and I just did not like them at all. Reached out to them, asked them for return labels. They pretty much dicked me around until it got to be 45 days out, and then they just decided to refuse the return on the speakers. And I tossed those on AudioGone and got rid of them and vowed to never ever do business with that company ever again. Not long after that, I also bought another brand new pair of speakers where I went all out, spent a lot of money on them, and once again, wasn't what I was expecting. So it was pretty much, for me, it was strike two, and I was not willing to spend the $2,600 at that time to get the full boat Sierra 1s. And I have to say that that's kind of, sometimes that's the way how it goes in the audiophile world, where you can't, the direct to consumer model, it has its benefits, and then it also has its hurdles. And when you cannot listen to a speaker first before committing to that purchase, that's where that gets challenging. And because of other companies and how they do business, that stopped me from doing business with Ascend Acoustics at that time. Now, the circular piece of this is that being a member of a community that loves to purchase everything used, and I am a huge proponent of buying everything used, trying it that way, and then deciding, okay, I really like this. Now I'm going to put all my money in and actually buy one with my specs or my colors, paint, etc., etc. So my buddy Dave Drzezinski at Authentic Audio of Idaho, he found this particular pair on Craigslist locally, jumped all over it. I came over, I saw them, I sat down, and I go, Dave, come on, man. I know this company, I know their reputation. I must demo these speakers. Please, 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 please. So Dave was gracious enough to let me have them for a few weeks. And here we are, because of, that sharing model. I get to finally hear an Ascend acoustic speaker, and darn it if I don't wish I would have pulled the trigger long ago, because wow, I've got a lot to say today. So let's talk about the specs. Let's just talk about the specs for this particular Sierra 1. This model has been around for over 12 years. Amazing, this speaker can still be bought today. So while this design is 12 years old in its base form, with this lovely black piano paint delivered to your doorstep, this is $760. This speaker made out of bamboo is $760. So you have a 14 1/4 tall cabinet, 7.5 inches wide by 10.5 inches deep. By all means, this is a mini monitor, or a mini monitor, and it's also got some substantial weight to it. So 20 pounds. This little guy is 20 pounds. Ascend Acoustics talks about how this is an exclusive for them. They call this the VLAM, and they take many, many, many sheets of vertically cut bamboo, and it's glued together until they get to this. It's a 3/4 inch thick wall or cabinet design, and my gosh, is it incredibly inert. From a frequency range or its specifications, they give you in-room and they give you anechoic chamber. Not to be snide, but I don't know when's the last time anybody's actually sat in an anechoic chamber to listen to their speakers. So, while that might be nice as a lab test and to throw that down as a specification, I go by what their in-room response is and what they give you, which is it's very detailed. 87 dB at 1 watt, and they call this an 8 ohm nominal load, which for a mini monitor, while these are usually very power hungry designs, that's an incredible spec. They do recommend a minimum 45 watt power amplifier to run these. The frequency range is 39 hertz from the bottom end to a 22 kilohertz at the top end at a plus minus 3 decibels. As you well know from last week when I was reviewing my Unison Research Unico P integrated amp from Italy, it's a hybrid integrated amp. It only puts out 50 watts per channel on paper, but when I was using it with these to test these, I never used 40% of the range of volume that I have with that integrated. So, maybe it is a little bit on the conservative side what they're saying, what these things require from a power handling perspective, or what you should be having as a minimum to operate these particular speakers. Now, it also says at the top end, or the other end of this, that these can handle peaks, continuous peaks with the grills off of 200 watts. Listening to these speakers with my Red Dragons, which are 500 watt monoblocks, there's just no way. I mean, even again with my hybrid integrated amp, I can't imagine putting 200 watts through these mini monitors. Not that I would doubt that they couldn't handle it. It's just that would be an incredible amount of volume in the space. And speaking of space, for all of those who may be new to my channel, real quickly, the way that my room is in this front room apartment is that I set the speakers up so that the tweeter to tweeter, center to center is exactly 7 feet apart. And then to my listening chair in the middle of the apartment here, it's 8 feet from my ears to the tweeters. And that's really the max that I can get out of this room. So while it's not a near field listening experience, it is more on the intimate side. So at least I guess for me, just keep that in mind or take that with a grain of salt that in order to get to 85 dB of listening sound pressures, it doesn't take a whole lot of volume with only being 8 feet away for that. So I want my audience to understand that with how I test the speakers, I keep things at 85 dB or below for all my testing situations. The C's tweeter. So the C's tweeter, this is a 1.1 inch C's tweeter from Norway. And it has this really interesting waveguide, this partial waveguide technology built within the tweeter. This was developed in unison with Ascend Acoustics. And again, because this has been around for so many years, this is a tweeter that actually can be purchased on the open market at Parts Express or Madison Sound. And it's about a $54 tweeter. Also, for this 5 1/4 inch woofer, this is completely proprietary to Ascend Acoustics, and I will show videos of the teardown or the opening up of the cabinet so that you guys can see the crossover, the network. You can see the bare bamboo inside, the way they do the dampening, how the tube goes out through the back. This is a bass reflex design, has a rear port at the top, and the 5-way gold-plated binding posts on the rear here. This particular woofer has a lot going on with it. So it is a very well-endowed magnet. It has copper shorting rings, a vented pole piece, and it's a very nice cast basket. I did my best to try to find something analogous to it. I was looking for another woofer, a 5 1/4 inch woofer through Madison Sound, something that I could compare from a price perspective. Because I'm really close, or I should say this review is really close on the heels of my Alta Audio I/O speakers. Those are $3,500 stand mount speakers when they were released at retail. There's still a little bit of stock that's out there right now, and they dropped the price to $2,450 for that speaker. But that's a retail available speaker, not a direct-to-consumer speaker. And I should say, this is where this model, the direct-to-consumer model, kicks ass. I have to say that because looking at trying to find similar drivers to this, I would have to put this level of driver in around the $85 mark for what this woofer probably would cost any of us to try to find something similar off the shelf. So with saying that, this proprietary driver and this tweeter, the crossover network that's inside, and this bamboo, this really heavily braced bamboo cabinet, to get all of this for $760, that is absolutely incredible. And again, because I'm on the 3rd floor of an apartment, you're going to have to forgive my neighbor out there with the stupid fart can on his gosh darn Honda car. Anyway, that's just the way it is. I've had to redo this video 3 times for exterior noises that are going on, and forgive me for the background noise. The part selection. $760 probably $200 worth of parts in this cabinet, including the cabinets, maybe a little bit more than that. And I reviewed a speaker that was $3,500 with off-the-shelf Dayton products. My hat's off to Ascend Acoustics. It also has a C's woofer in that particular speaker. Cutting to the chase, I'm just letting you guys know now that I am so smitten with these speakers and in what I've experienced. I decided to purchase my own pair of the latest version that came out in 2019, and those are the 2EXs. And those have an even newer, more expensive C's driver in those. And I can't wait to get those sometime next week. So that brings me to my listening impressions. The way that Ascend Acoustics goes about designing this speaker, I have to say this. If you were ever given the chance to listen to a speaker that has a very benign, very flat frequency curve, this is probably the picture I would hold up of what a flat speaker frequency response curve looks like. This is your speaker. This speaker was, in a nutshell, incredibly balanced. Just during my time with these speakers, the majority of my listening would be at sound pressure levels of about 75 dB. That's really my comfort level and my normal listening habits. When I'm getting things a little bit hot and cooking, I will tune stuff up to 85 dB as the clipping point for me, and I try to keep everything at 85 below that, really listening in that 75 dB range. And with these speakers, nothing bad stood out whatsoever. On the other side of that, there was nothing that called attention to itself in a look at me, where a lot of the speakers I like do kind of suffer from that from time to time. And evidently I would say that the Zoos are on that list of, they have a very look at me mid-range, and because of their wideband design, that's where they play. They specialize in a very open, inner detailed, that window from the 600 range to, say, the 3500 range, even up to 5000. That's where they play. These speakers truly impressed me, and I was able to get a very respectable in-room 38 hertz bass tone out of them. Now, I would say that at 38 hertz, there was the slightest bit of port chuffing coming from the rear port, but the Alta Ios, with their 7-inch Dayton driver, while I was able to get an in-room response of about 37 to 36 hertz from those speakers, had substantially more port chuffing from those. And that in itself is kind of amazing, because this is a 5.25-inch driver. The Alta Ios was using a 7-inch driver to be around only 2 additional dB in the bass response. Also with the electric, not EDM, but like, say, Rachel Claudio, her type of music. I had a hard time with the Alta Audios with dance music, electronic dance music, and some of those tunes, to where the bass became boomy and bloomed sharply at me. These speakers, I did not come across any of my particular genres where I had a bloom or something that just, it sounded weird or out of phase. Nothing like that. Again, just a kind of a real techno geeks speaker. The other thing I would say about these is, these are definitely an on-access speaker. all of my listening after testing what they sounded like on axis, off axis, 15, 30, 45 degrees, and I'll put what the frequency range charts are. Again, hats off to Ascend Acoustics. They go out of the way to give you all of those charts, and they're very transparent in what that looks like in the roll-off at 45 degrees off axis. And you can see that these speakers definitely like to be 100% on axis. Look, I don't want to drop flower bombs on these speakers and sit there and write poetry to you guys about how my take on speaking to how they sound to me. You will probably ask me, well, as a guy who's so enamored with the Zoo Dirty Weekends, well, how do they compare to those? There is no comparison I'd like to make or to explain, in that these are very different flavors. These are very different speaker models. The way that they're built is a different philosophy. These are very different design philosophies. The widebander, the Eminence 10 inches widebander in the Zoo, its philosophy is centered around the human voice. And Sean Casey, he makes no bones about it, that's what they focus on, is the human voice, that inner detail, and trying to get as much out of the instruments as possible. Where these speakers, these are your engineer speakers. And I would say that we all could benefit from trying both. And it's probably may even be weird for you guys that I like them equally for different reasons, and I appreciate these speakers on equal terms for those completely different reasons and those different design philosophies. It benefits me as a reviewer to have on hand a speaker that's painstakingly trying to recreate what a flat frequency curve looks like, and then a bombastic, crazy-ass party speaker that is the Zoo, that's just, it's fun to listen to, it gives you a lot of energy, and it just, with certain genres, it is a rock-out speaker. Calm listening, sitting in my chair, and just letting these Sierra ones play, it's been an absolute treat. And with the extra powerful Class D monoblocks that I have, while that center ghost channel is very, very locked in tight, there was no lack of, again, extra detail coming out beyond the outer edges of the box. And they would, they could play big, and they could definitely have a three-dimensionality to them, and some holographic properties, but balanced. Not constrained, just, I can only say that these are speakers that don't call attention to themselves. You listen to the music, and song after song after song goes by, and you're in a trance. You're in a trance of, this is pleasant, these are smooth. One caveat, and this is an important caveat, there's a price point level that these do play to, and I would be a bad reviewer if I didn't say that a $54 tweeter and the driver, once it goes above 80 dB for an extended period of time, that's where there's limitations to what you're getting at this price point with a $760 pair of speakers. Cranking it up a little bit too loud, once you're at song number 3 or 4, that's when I'd be like, I could see and I could feel that if I continue to listen at above 80 dB, there's a fatigue factor going on here that I do not get with my Zoos and some more expensive speakers. So that would be the one caveat to the Sierra 1s. I don't want to talk about the Sierra 2s yet, because they do take things up a whole nother notch with that raw tweeter and more expensive drivers, albeit at twice the price point to these, and so that will be for next week. But Mind you, on the used market where I love to play, these speakers can be found for $400. Sometimes they could be found for $300. These speakers are in perfect condition that Dave found, and there's no reason why, if you have the money, these are worth the audition alone just to experience what a really acoustically flat frequency response sounds like. I would even say that there's a British quality to these, in that shortly a while back I had the KEF 104s. There is that frequency response that I'm reminded of in these particular speakers. Very British sounding when it comes to keeping things tidy. That's the word I've been struggling. These are a very tidy speaker, and as long as you keep them at this particular threshold, there is no reason to look elsewhere. These are speakers you could live with on a daily basis, month in and month out, and giggle to yourself that you found an awesome pair of speakers for under $500 on the used market. But I failed to mention, and I have to go back to the in-room bass. I probably am still somehow, I feel I'm selling these short on what I was expecting. And even having Amanda sit with me and listening to these speakers, I said it to how these reset my expectations of what a mini monitor can do. And generally, I would have to also say I've never been a mini monitor fan. I've always been a big speaker fan, first and foremost. But I also want to be a better reviewer and to cover off on as many stand mount monitor speakers as I can. And this speaker changed my mind about a lot of things, where in the past I've been underwhelmed. This speaker, the Sierra 1 from Ascend Acoustics, bar none, reset the expectations that I have now from a speaker. This, like the Zoos for stand mount speakers, this is going to be the high water mark. This is going to be what I judge all other speakers by. And since I still have the Alta IOs, I have to be totally candid. Anything I've come across to $2,000, these speakers will compete with, bar none. Absolutely. The in-room bass response was so damn impressive. Incredibly impressive for the detail, the depth, and the room integration. Very impressed with these speakers and what they were accomplishing because of this super tight cabinet and its rear bass reflex design. Having them 14 inches off of the back room was a good placement, or I'm sorry, off the back wall was great placement for them. And there's no need. Here's the funny thing. At no point would I say, man, I'm missing a subwoofer. I need a subwoofer with these speakers. Absolutely pleasant to listen to, and all the bass was there, which blows my mind for a 5 1/4 inch driver. Done really well. So, you know, Ascend Acoustics has given me nothing. They've paid me nothing. As a matter of fact, I was so enamored with these speakers, when I posted to their Facebook, they actually took it down 2 days later. I don't know what that's all about. So trust me when I say that I'm getting nothing from them. That's how enamored with the speakers that I am. I really do appreciate these with everything that I've owned. I'm putting my money where my mouth is when I say that I've ponied up for a brand new pair of their latest version of these speakers. So I'm going to be super excited to have all three of them and go through the differences with you guys, as I did with the Omen 1 Mark 1s and the Dirty Weekend 2s. And I don't think I could say anything else about these speakers that again isn't just, you know, grabbing a bouquet and throwing them on here for you guys, but you know, it's why this journey's fun for me. It's what keeps me motivated to keep, you know, searching for new things that are not so much mainstream, not doing, you know, typical speakers that you're going to find at all the same retailers that's being tossed around on YouTube. I love the direct models when it works, and Ascend Acoustics has given me renewed faith in the direct to consumer model for what you get. There's just a lot of value here, and because they back it also with a 7-year parts and labor warranty, how can you lose? So really, guys, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate the support, and until next week, be safe out there. It's a crazy weather week, and I thank all of you so much. Have a wonderful week.